At home on every rural road. Hyundai Country Calendar.
Some say the days of the small family farm are numbered, but not this Central Hawke's Bay cocky. He says being in sole charge has plenty of benefits.
I go from being CEO right down to junior shepherd, so the chain of command's pretty short.
Over 30 years, Steve and Jane Wynne Harris have made a big impact on this farm.
OK, we're going to open the wool shed now.
Although Jane doesn't always get to choose how they spend the spare cash.
Yeah, Steve's very proud of his new wool shed. I would have liked a beach house or a new back door, but no, this is lovely.
Central Hawke's Bay has good farmland, and this block east of Waipukoro is no exception. It's been in the Wynne Harris family for 50 years. But Steve didn't get to have his turn by being part of the aristocracy. His dad was a London policeman who came to New Zealand to find a new life. He met Steve's Kiwi mother on the boat, and together they bought land. Steve grew up with farming in his blood, but it's been a hard ride.
Outside.
The day we started farming was the day that subsidies came off. They were tough years. It was a great opportunity, and we embraced that challenge. But it did make us cautious and careful. And I mean, in those early years, we could have gone broke. You know, every time I've had a spare dollar, I've paid off debt, and that wasn't fashionable until about 2008.
When Steve took over 30 years ago, there were 60 paddocks. Now he has around 130.
The average size of each paddock is 2.5 hectares, which probably by New Zealand sheep and beef farming standards is pretty small. So the stock are used to being shifted regularly. In fact, often I don't even have the dog at all. They'll just come on a call or come to the gateway when they see me. And then I have these lanes, which I make good use of.
Steve's dog Rum and her daughter Gin, who's back at the kennels today, are usually the only help he gets on the farm.
I'm not a big dog man. I mean, anyone watching this who is really good with dogs, and you know, they'd be sort of finding it highly amusing. But these are semi-pets almost, and my mates, and do the job. Probably not as prettily as anyone who goes dog trialling, but that's all I need really is the one dog with a backup dog just in case there's an accident or she gets crook or something.
It's just a 10-minute drive from the farm to the bustling town of Waipukoro. That makes it easy for Steve's wife Jane to get involved in the community. She started coaching tennis a few years back.
OK, here we go. Oh. I love the children. I wouldn't be doing it if the children weren't easy to coach, and they are. The country children, there's something about them, they're just great. Yeah, and it's really rewarding. Everyone, straight up and down.
Today the focus is on serving. It's a bit of a challenge in the wind.
Drop down. Go down your back, reaching up, straight arm, palm to the sky. Turn your palm around, Maggie. It's a large community, lots of children travel in. The parents are right behind the children, and I think everyone knows everyone. And there's a network. I think that's what cities perhaps miss. It's a network of people, and that's really important.
Back on the farm, Steve's hands are usually the only pair getting dirty, but he does get expert help. Steve's a big fan of using science to get more out of his farm. Today, local vet Harry Whiteside is taking a blood sample from Steve's rams to test for various genes.
So I'll be looking for those rams that have got very good tolerance to facial eczema, tolerance to foot rot, cold tolerance, so that their progeny on a cold, wet night have more chance of surviving than without the gene. So, you know, this is sort of cutting edge. This is where we're going now with sheep farming. We can start looking at the genes and identifying the ones we want and getting rid of the ones we don't. It is expensive to do those rams. It's $250, $300 a ram, but each ram over 4 years can generate about 500 lambs, and half of those will be ewe lambs, so it's well worth money, I can tell you.
Steve also takes a scientific approach to grass growth. Eldest son Jason and his dog are home from the farm training course at Waipawa Station and are proving useful. Steve works at having good feed for his lambs before they're sent off the property. He reckons his approach to growing grass is smart and environmentally friendly.
I put on superphosphate, but I put it on in the right places. I don't put it on near my streams. My streams are all fenced off, you know, they're riparian strips.
His pasture's full of clover. In fact, after a wet spring, Steve's system's working almost too well.
It's got a little bit long for the lambs, but with the amount of clover in here, the lambs will grow really well, maybe 250 to 300 grams a day. And they'll put that weight on, and it'll mean that they'll go to the works sooner than they might have if they didn't have quality feed like this. And at good carcass weights, and with the current schedules, you know, that's money in the bank.
Steve's learned to be frugal over the years, but sometimes there's no way round a spend-up. When his shearers started complaining about his 100-year-old wool shed, Steve had to build a new one. It's about to be used for the first time.
I'm a bit anxious about that. I've got to load it shortly because we're shearing tomorrow, so it's just about time to pen up. And I've got to go up a pretty steep ramp, and I'm not sure if my sheep are going to like that, particularly with my average dog team. Outside, Rum, outside. Good girl. Oh, this is all right. That's what I was worried about. It'll cost me money in terms of the interest, and you know, the insurance will be higher and all those sort of things. It'll make it more pleasurable. Shearing, it won't be something where I'll be looking at the weather forecast, because the shearers, they tend to book in several days or a week or two ahead, and you know what days are coming, and then suddenly think, oh, it's going to be showery, and it's going to take 4 days where it should only take half a day to shear my sheep. So hard to justify in terms of financially, but if you're going to be a sheep farmer, you've got to have a wool shed.
Twice a week, Steve forgets about farm finances and heads to town. He's been hosting a radio show for 12 years.
Here's your host, Steve Wynne-Harris.
Good afternoon, welcome to The Cockies Out. On today's show, very shortly, local farmer Marcus Peacock. Then we'll be talking a bit of politics.
It was a tough assignment at the start.
I was useless, I was terrible. As you can see, you've got to do a lot of multitasking, and I do the production myself, so I'm doing the interviews and running the production. But I'm slowly, after 12 years, getting slowly better and better. I'm still not perfect.
But Steve gets a lot out of the job.
I get to talk to all sorts of different people, the occasional politician, but usually agribusiness people, fellow farmers, vets, scientists, all sorts. So I enjoy that opportunity, and I have an audience out there who tell me they enjoy it as well. And yeah, it's just stimulating and good fun, and something completely different to what I do on the farm. And cattle, what's happening with the cattle?
Yeah, we're getting rid of some big steers at the moment, buying in some replacements, and you know, it's pretty good margins there as well, which is great.
Back at home, Steve's new wool shed is facing the ultimate test, with the first sheep about to hit the floor. Central Hawke's Bay countryside is not just picturesque, it's also productive farmland, as the Wynne-Harris family has discovered. Steve farms on his own on this block east of Waipokoro. He's keen on experimenting and has taken a do-it-yourself approach to planting brassica.
I've spun the seed on with a fertiliser, just behind my tractor, and I've dragged a heavy set of harrows over. I did it while it was raining, and then I've put ewes and lambs, a big mob of ewes and lambs in here overnight, just to treat the seed into the ground. And I'm really pleased with the result. You know, it's a great density, but what really appeals to me is that it's cost me nothing. If I get the contractor in to direct drill it, it's $130 a hectare, so quite an expensive operation.
Planting fodder crops is a form of insurance in a region prone to drought.
And it's also part of the pasture renewal program, so with 10% out, it'll take me 10 years to get around the farm and replace my pastures. But previously, when the finances weren't so good, I was doing about 5%. And that would take 20 years to get around your property and renew the pastures.
But crops for stock aren't the only thing growing on the Wynne-Harris property. Steve planted asparagus a few years back, and Jane looks after it, though it's a fight to get there first at harvest time.
We have had occasions where the sheep do get in and eat just when I think I've got a nice bunch of asparagus to pick. If it's not the sheep, it's the hares, or sometimes a bull gets in, and they really like it. They just nibble the top off it.
Jane sells the asparagus to locals and says customers tell her it tastes good.
It's really flavoursome, our asparagus. We don't do anything to it. Don't fertilise it, it just keeps popping up. I think it could be the variety. It's an old variety.
Jane likes growing things, but doesn't get very involved in stock work.
If Steve's away, I love it because I'm the boss, and Steve leaves me a long list of jobs, and I think, oh, I don't know if I feel like moving the sheep that day. I might just move them now when I feel like it. So I can jump on the bike, move the sheep. Bulls are a bit scarier, but I'll do it. So I'm quite capable of helping Steve when Steve goes down to Wellington or Christchurch for three or 4 days. Helping in the yards, if Steve's yelling out, I'll go over and help, but no, generally not.
While gardening's a passion of Jane's, Steve prefers trees. He's put in 50,000 of them during his time here. There aren't many spots left to plant, but that hasn't dampened Steve's enthusiasm. Today, 2 of his sons are helping out.
You've got to be a bit careful with some of these ones that are really root bound. Just tease them out. Yeah. Don't damage the tree or the big roots. And make sure it's planted below ground level, just below ground level, not sticking up. Yeah.
Steve says he's often just plonked trees in.
Every now and then I might be getting some stock out of an area that's a waste area, that's not grazed and I've snuck into. And I find some sort of exotic looking tree that I'd forgotten about and I couldn't even tell you the name of it. You've got to be careful when you're planting trees because it's not always good. You can put the wrong trees in the wrong places. And I realise that I've had quite a visual impact and as I say, I think I probably could have done it better. But you just plant and next thing you look over your shoulder and think, wow, that's quite dramatic.
This morning, the new wool shed is about to be put to the test, with shearers getting ready to work in it for the first time. It's raining, which is the last thing Steve wants when he's trying to keep the wool dry. But one of the big pluses about the new shed is that he can keep stock underneath and out of the weather while they're waiting their turn. But there's no shelter in the yards. Steve and eldest son Jason just have to put up with it. Inside, the first sheep is hitting the floor. Cam Ferguson is a former New Zealand shearing champion. Matthew, the youngest Wyn Harris son, is recording an expert at work. Things are going pretty smoothly, although Steve says one of his attempts to save money has left things a little bit slippery.
The shearers want me to get the sander out and take the polyurethane, and I very carefully put 3 coats on, having sanded where they stand. They now want me to sand that off so it goes back to the bare board, so I suppose I'll have to do it. But other than that, it worked a charm. No, very pleased with it.
Outside, the sun's shining again, and lambs are being loaded onto the truck to go to the works. On busy days like this one, Steve can't manage on his own.
If there's any spare hands going at a pressure point like that, you grab them. Hugh was at home, meant to be swatting for his physics exam tomorrow, but I got him to come to help load the truck. And then we had Ruby, who lives in the house next door, just come for a look. And he said, don't go away, we need you to get some lambs on the truck. And Jason was a good help too with his dog.
Opening a new wool shed is always time for a party in the country. Jane and Steve's family and neighbours have come to celebrate. There's a bit of a shearing demo before the formal part of the evening.
I don't want to break any of my lights.
Oh!
Pour it down the chute.
What?
Pour it down the chute.
Why? Why do you do that? Only a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's Jane who gets the last word.
Thank you all for coming, and Steve's very proud of his new wool shed. I would have liked a beach house or a new back door, but no, this is lovely. No.
Out on the farm, autumn's arrived, and it's time to enjoy the fruits of Steve's tree planting labours.